Hey, wonderfuls, back with another episode of Helpers High by me, Tiffany. So, this week, I have to tell you guys, whew, I am pooped. It's right now about 11 o'clock on Sunday night, and I need to get this episode out by tomorrow, right? So, here I am. But honestly, I had an awesome weekend. Greg and I had the opportunity to take Anthony back to school. So, woohoo! Summer is over. So, this episode is really going to be for the parents, the guardians, the coaches, the people responsible for a young person's life. But here's the truth: if you yourself were ever a teenager, it may apply to you too. So, really, it is for all of us. So let me just say, um, Anthony went back to Florida International University, right? Where he studies marine biology. And Shayla lives in Miami with her husband. So they're about 35 minutes apart, which is awesome because we have the ability to have eyes on Anthony, but we don't have eyes on it. Okay. So, yes, he is the one who chose fish over people in the family, right? Now, he lives on campus, and campus this year is a little a ways from the main campus of FIU because he is a marine biology student. A lot of the labs and the work that they do is on the bay, in the ocean, and so forth. So it makes sense for a marine biology student to live on this side of the FIU campus choices, right? So, needless to say, that is not what this is about. I was just giving you the back history on that. So, I use Shayla a lot to help me with Anthony. And thankfully, she is such an awesome big sister. And she's a Gen Z and he's a Gen Z. So they speak this kind of Gen Z language. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Gen Z language. I know we heard about the Gen Z steer and all of these things, but I can tell you that it does give me a peace of mind to know that she's there. And it definitely gives us the opportunity to make sure that Anthony is taken care of if he needed to be. Now, he's a dude, so in his own world, he needs nothing, but that's not true. So I could just stop there and just give you a I'm a proud mom, Greg's a proud dad moment. But y'all know me. That's not what's going to happen here. But I'm also not here to gush about the kids, right? So I needed this to make sense because honestly, going into Friday, the last thing that I thought about is what should the episode be? But yesterday, we as a family were eating dinner and we had a huge conversation, which I thought was super important. And Patrick said to me, who's Sheila's husband, he said, darn it, we should have just set the camera up right here. That was the best podcast episode I've ever heard. Now, I don't know if that was some kind of dig or something, Patrick, but no, just kidding. But here's the fun fact: it really was a good conversation, and it was a kind of a what Anthony calls a Tiffany, a mom lecture. That's not what it was at all. Just in case some of you are not aware of the number of conversations that have to be had with young adults, there's a lot. And you almost have to keep saying it because you're not gifting them with more knowledge every time you have a conversation. A lot of it is the same, but you're playing the odds, I like to call it. The more conversations you have with them about the same topics, about the same fillers, it's the more chances that they're going to have to retain some of the information that you're providing them, which is great information, may I add. But again, here we are. The fun fact of the entire weekend that Greg and I look forward to as we drop Anthony off at school is that that means that we're officially empty nesters again. That means that Anthony is back at school, the house is ours, and we get to play That's not what happens at all. We still have to work, right? Okay, cool. But cue the confetti. He's back at school. He's safe. We're here. Shayla's there. Everything is good, right? So it's a high five moment for us, right? It's proof that what we planned for our children actually worked, right? So it does feel good. We raised our kids. We definitely promoted, I would say pushed, but I'm going to say promoted instead, education. And we got them out the house. So mission accomplished. But let's be honest, going to college is not the plan or the way it has to be, right? For every parent of a high school graduate, right? You know that there's conversations that happened in your household that decides whether they will or they won't, all of those things. And that's okay because the truth is every parent hands down something. So, as you know, it's not always money and it's not always going to be a house or something grandiose, right? But it's always going to be beliefs. So, we've talked about inherited beliefs before in one of the previous episodes, right? And it's a true thing. So, as a child of Elena, I told you some of the things that was just instilled in me. I can't go to sleep with dishes in my sink and random thoughts and all of these things. But inherited beliefs of getting an education is definitely something that was instilled in me and definitely something that I forwarded to my children. So I remember when they were younger, especially starting with Shayla, since there is a 6 year difference, that I always said that school is 16 years. So, for example, when she graduated from 8th grade, I said, wow, you only have half time left, right? 8 more years. So, that really is the way that I programmed it to be because I didn't want you to have any surprises that made them think that there was some type of option. I didn't want them to grow up believing that education was something that they could do. I wanted to make sure that they understood that it was something that they must do, right? So I know some people right now, you might be one of them saying, I disagree. That's a lot of pressure. But hear me out. This is my inherited beliefs, and I'm just going to share with you how I pass this forward. Okay. So, sure, we could debate after if you want to, but I'm just telling you what had happened was. Okay. So, that is the true power of inherited beliefs because I strongly believed in it. I definitely held that to a need that my children had to do, if that makes sense. Now, sink or swim, right? Just because you go to college doesn't mean that you have to stay in college, doesn't mean you have to. There's a lot of things that can happen. And it's a huge investment, right? It's a huge investment. That's for a different show. And I'll get some experts on here to maybe talk about that as we go forward for things that we can do as we get closer to the school academic years, especially for some of you who have a high school student this year or somebody about to graduate within the next year or two. But back to the story at hand, taking you through the steps to get you to Saturday. What had happened was. So this is where Anthony comes in because anytime I speak, especially about your future, your plans, your vision board, and all of this, and some of you may think so yourself too, it sounds like I'm lecturing, right? Anthony is super used to it. So it doesn't always sound helpful. And I get that. But his life choices are making me think that it was still worth it. So we'll see. It's still a story that's playing out, and I'm sure I'll let you know eventually if it worked or if it didn't work. It absolutely worked for Sheila thus far. Okay. Now, every time I speak, he also thinks that I'm debating him, which I'm not, because another one of my inherited beliefs is don't talk back. So that's not going to happen. So it will be hard to have a debate if you're not allowed to talk back. You're allowed to speak up for yourself, of course, but we're not going to be in any real argument because I'm still the mom. So the conversation actually started with me asking him about how he thought this year was going to be. It was new. Again, I told you he changed campuses, he has new dorm mates. He's a year older. And of course, we're starting to get into marine biology now. So more labs, more work, more core classes, right? That he's taken. So I wanted to know like what his pulse was on it, like how he felt about, this year and what his strategy was going to be and so forth. So I said to him, remind me why I said that you have to get a college degree. And he was like, oh, yes, yes, I know. I have to get a college degree. I know. And I said, no, 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 no. Wait, not that. Tell me why. Tell me why I've always said that it's important to get your college degree. And he said, oh, because yes, it allows me to network and meet people and be out there and expose myself to new things and get a good job. And I was like, hold on a second. Yes, it absolutely allows you to network and meet new people and be exposed to things. But I never said that it will get you a good job. I want to be very clear on that. Anthony, a college degree does not guarantee you a good job. It does change you, however, and here's how. This is my truth, right? Again, I am not trying to diagnose anybody else and their children's relationships or anything like that. I'm giving you a Saturday story and a little bit of history on how I got to Saturday. Based on my experience, earning a degree shifts something inside of you. It's kind of the first time, and you may have had some wins, right? If you play sports and all of these things, and I'm not taking away from that, but it shifts something inside of you mentally. It's the first time that you actually feel a sense of awareness, a sense of accomplishment, and you realize that it's not easy to get your degree. That's one thing. And you realize that everyone that you know hasn't done it, and you gain some type of quiet, unshakable confidence. And it's hard to explain for anyone who has not gone to school. And now I'm going to start asking more people who did go to college and have their degrees if they understand what I'm saying, because I have to know now. Is that only true for me? So at the dinner table, though, Shayla and Patrick were there with Greg and Patrick's mom, and we were all talking about our experience of college and again, full story moment. Now, let me be very clear though. I don't want anyone to twist my words or my thoughts. I don't want anyone to believe that I've ever said or thought that going to college and getting your degree means that somehow life is going to be easy for you, that now you have a great job, that it guarantees that you have money in your pocket. None of those things do I agree to be true. So I want to be very clear on that. But I do believe that college gives you more options, right? And options are muy importante. Okay. Now, not muy importante, pero muy importante. Got it? Okay, good. So it does give you more choices. And I'm not sure if it's because you pick up some skills or because you start believing that you can bet on yourself, right? Or maybe because you realize that you're in control. Remember, Helper's High, we are not victims of our own actions. We're in control. So we are in control of the choices that we make. And maybe that's where you realize that you're in control of these choices. I'm not really sure. And I also don't believe that anyone should put their goals on hold or push their gifts aside while they're in college. I do believe that most of us are capable of doing both. But let's be real. There are absolutely some people that college is not necessary for if you already see success, happiness, joy, all of the things in your life that you said or deemed to be successful. Okay. So let's say, for example, you're Beyonce. No, you don't need to have a college degree first. Okay. It will help you because you're also a businesswoman, right? And it gives you some sense of knowledge, but you can also hire amazing people to help you out, right? So if you have a voice that makes angels cry, fine, you don't need college. If you and your business partner are the next Bill Gates and Paul Allen, then skip it. But for the rest of us, college does matter. And here's where I laugh because I love how people throw examples at me when I say things like Taylor Swift doesn't need a degree. for sure. If you have a quarter of that talent that Taylor Swift has and the work ethic of any of these people, any of your fans, your celebrities, if you have that, then perhaps you do not need college either. But here's the fun fact, because at this stage in the game, this is where the debate wants to come in, right? This is where it gets really controversial. People are like, Elon Musk doesn't need a degree. And I'm like, okay, well, first of all, he does have a degree. I think he has a dual degree, okay, in physics and something else. But neither here nor there. He came from a super rich family already. And again, if that's you and this is working out and you can work for the family owned business or get a little stipend off that helps you to create your own business, where he and his brother is really the ones who came up with their first company together and then sold it for millions of dollars. Okay. But he was raised with yachts and big houses and elaborate expenses and so forth. And in Africa, his father was pretty much a rich mogul. Neither here nor there. So he wasn't starting from the same line that most of the people that I know are. So again, if that's you and you have a cushion family is ready to throw money on all of your investments, then again, this may not be for you. My kids, Sheila and Anthony, do not have that luxury. Got it? Okay, good. Mark Zuckerberg is another one, dropped out of Harvard. Yes. Now, here's what I say is really cool about when I told Anthony about networking, which is the part that he remembered, which is cool, is that Mark Zuckerberg, although he dropped out of school, would never have met the people that helped him to create Facebook had he had not gone to college. Hmm. So this is where it gets interesting, right? Because again, where you put yourself and the people that you surround yourself is what's really going to help you. You should always be around people who are helping you to elevate to your next level. That's where we all want to aspire to be. So yes, there is absolutely exceptions to the go to college, right? And that's fine. But let's not confuse exceptions with the rules. I've rarely met people who have a degree and have it harder than someone without. Again, not impossible. It's also based on our life choices, of course. But I've seen plenty of people without a degree hit walls that they couldn't climb over. And that's why I encourage that young people have to at least consider it, right? It's not going to be something that everybody just poof decides on their own. These are teachers and sponsors and people in your life that are helping you to make this choice. Whether it's something that you see in your family and so forth, you're kind of going through the motions based on what you're seeing. Role models in your life can absolutely get you to this course. But no child wakes up and goes, I can't wait to get to college. College is for me. They need a little bit of encouragement. And for adults, it can actually help. If you feel stuck, if your career is not satisfying you, if your friends are not elevating you, right? Like we have these coworkers, we have these family members that are in our lives, some of our cousins or our best friends, and all of these things. But if you truly are not getting elevated to your next level and you're being allowed to sit in the same spot, to say the least, it's not same spot, but in the same action that you have been for multiple years without change and they've just accepted you that way, then you have to know that those are great family, friends, and people who will be in your corner regardless. But you have to find also your circle who's going to push you and promote you to the next level. You should always be thinking next move, right? And it's not to make it stressful on yourself, but that's the goal in life, right? It's not only about what you're doing, but who you're bringing with you. You want to be able to bring people along on the journey. At least as a helper, that's my intention. So, as I said, college won't guarantee success. I don't want anybody to walk away again believing that that's what I'm saying. But it absolutely does guarantee you more opportunities. It guarantees the more doors that you'll be able to knock on. And sometimes the difference between staying where you are and stepping into what you're actually meant to be. So, Helpers High family, let's do a quick pulse check on what we think so far. I'm going to ask you, take a breath. And answer for yourself, yes or no, no judgments here, right? If you're a parent or, again, a guardian, somebody in your life where you can, even your siblings and so forth, right, that you can encourage, do you see some inherited beliefs showing up in them? Are you the influencer, for example? But yes or no to that. Do you see or notice some inherited beliefs? Like you would say things like, you are just like your mom. You are just like your dad. You are just like blah, blah, blah. Right? Have you experienced that before? Okay, good. If you had to name two people that you believe is successful for whatever the reason, they can just be the healthiest people that you know, you consider that to be success. You're naming two people that you believe is successful. Do they have college degrees? Okay. And is there a teenager in your life? And I'm going to say teenager, 13 and over, but I would even go as far as to say 10 based on the speed of knowledge that we have access to these days. But really, 13 and over that you have access to, that you are willing to at least have a conversation about their take of college, just so that you can see what the word on the street is, what the pulse is, to get an understanding of where their thought process is. Again, mentoring somebody is super helpers high like, right? You get a boost, energy, dopamine, oxytocin, all those good things. And it really is serving an awesome purpose in what you're capable of doing. Now, sit with those answers because the truth is, our kids don't just inherit our eye colors or our last names, they inherit our outlook, our perspective, how we feel about life. We can actually translate that into their way of thinking. And that outlook can actually open doors for them or close doors for them. So, this conversation that we had was a little like that. It was just different opinions and thoughts. I think we all got to a great place because you can agree. I didn't want anyone to believe that the things that I was saying was some type of blanket rule. It wasn't. It's not. It is not for everyone. But I do believe it's worth a shot. There are going to be things in life, whether it's trying new foods, going to new places, meeting new people, they're all going to be different than what you knew before. If you don't go into it with an open mind, there is huge possibilities that you could be missing out on the best part of your life. College is one of them, and eating delicious jerk shrimp is another. So, no, college does not guarantee success. It doesn't guarantee that you have some awesome six-figure job and life is so easy. And every time you roll down the street, somebody rolls out a red carpet when you get out of the car. None of those things, right? I'm not trying to make this into some pretty picture, right? And for the parents who have to pay for college, it's definitely not exciting. Yeah, not exciting at all. But it does create the options and it does allow you to expand your choices, to really be mindful and thoughtful that there's a whole world of things that once we stay in our inner bubble, that we may not allow ourselves to experience. You got to get out there. You got to put yourself out there in multiple ways, right? So if college isn't for you, what could be? So many things. First, I would encourage you to define what success means to you. That's going to be super important. As we said in one of the previous episodes, success is different for everyone. You cannot measure your idea, your opinion of success based on someone else. You really do have to come up with what that means to you. College does plant confidence. And whether you're a parent planting those seeds in your own children, or you're grown and you're replanting those seeds in yourself, it's never too late to shift the path. College doesn't guarantee you a win, but it will guarantee you a bigger playing field. And that's what you want out of life. You want the most choices possible because, again, we're in control of the choices that we choose. But if we don't know that there are choices that we should be able to choose from, then we limit our growth opportunity. Allow yourself to be the best version of yourself, is what I said to Anthony. And I absolutely believe that this is a great opportunity for him. What he chooses to do, as so many of us, right, we can actually say, did our degree actually land us the dream job that we wanted? And we know that there are so many examples of those of us who have a degree in one thing and are doing a job that is completely different. But if you look at the skills, you will see a lot more similarities than if you look at the title of your role. So consider that as well as people go through life saying, I went to school for this, but now I'm this. But you learned a skill set that is transferable into the job that you're currently doing, and that should not be ignored. Again, continue to think about it, be open minded, and see where that gets you. Until we meet again, family, together we make magic.